Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday, June 26th live stream for studentloanjustice.org. Sorry, this is a late live stream, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually on the road. I spent all day on a bus. I'm going to visit an old and very ill friend. So that's just what it is. But I hope everything's going well out there in the world with everybody tonight. As always, we are studentloanjustice.org. We are the first, oldest, largest, and in many ways only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So we've been around for 17 years now. We've done a lot of things. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on Facebook or on Twitter, I will very happily respond to them. So here's where we're at, guys. We've got a bill in the Senate. The bill returns bankruptcy protections to all federal student loans. So they can be owned federally or they can be guaranteed federally. All federal student loans that are more than 10 years old. It's a very good bill. It's really the only good bill we've had to fight for, and it's very close. Senator Dick Durbin is the sponsor. He's also the chairman. The two co-sponsors on the bill are Republican Senator Josh Hawley, Republican Senator John Cornyn. Now, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, ladies and gentlemen. We pretty much hate the Democrats and the Republicans. Maybe not in totally equal measures, but we're kind of sick of both parties at this point. So whatever your political stripes are, you're very welcome on this group. But having said that, history has shown that it's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. But history has shown that the Republicans have tended to oppose us on today on loan cancellation. Now, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. And if you're new to the group, you're probably hearing this for the first time. But it turns out that bankruptcy lies at the core of this entire problem. This was true in 2006 or 5 when we first started this group. It is still true today. The most important thing I will tell you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is that whether you want loan cancellation, whether you want some break on interest or some middle ground solution, whatever you want, we've got to get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side first. The constitutional, I should say, threat of bankruptcy must be back on our side if we're going to get anything good. Joe Biden could have a press conference tomorrow and say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt, which is probably a lot less than we should expect based on everything that I've seen and heard in the media recently. So that would be kind of the upper bound, right? Well, he could do that. And you know what it would come to mean ultimately? It would come to mean almost nothing for almost everyone and absolutely nothing for many, if not most. Up to could mean anything. That's a trick. That's a weasel word. Now, this group started the petition that ignited the whole concept of canceling student loans by executive order. We are fully on board with canceling loans by executive order. By the way, it can be done without one dime needed from the Treasury, without one penny added to the national debt, unlike PPP loans and much of the other stimulus that we saw during COVID. So we're fully on board with student loan cancellation. But guys, and we're thrilled that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer and others have embraced the concept. But this up to $50,000 is fake. It gives the Department of Education every tool they need to not cancel loans. They'd be like, oh, you didn't fill out your form right. Oh, we couldn't figure out how much you earned. You didn't file your taxes one year and you have blue hair, whatever. They will find ways to not cancel loans. This is what they've always done with every loan cancel to them. And so this up to nonsensicality, it's fake. It's fake, guys. It's fake. We have, in order to trust anything that Joe Biden comes out with, and it might be different if it was Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, maybe it would be different, but it's not. It's Joe Biden. And whatever he might say, it is going to be fake unless and until we have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. It's the most important thing I'm going to tell you tonight. So, which brings me back to our bill, S2598. It's doing well. It has all the votes it needs to get through committee. Quite frankly, I think it would probably pass the Senate with a vote of like 65, 70, 75. It would be a large majority of the Senate, because I don't even think many Republicans would dare to vote against this bill at this point. And that's really good, by the way. I mean, this has been a 17-year-long battle, and we hit resistance at every step along the way. So we're in a good spot. And if you forget everything I say tonight, remember at least this. Go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, daily actions. This group right here, we may not seem like a big deal. We are the only group in the nation, the only citizens group, certainly, the only group in the nation fighting for S2598. And it's the only decent bankruptcy bill out there that has any chance of passing, and has a very good chance of passing, by the way. We are so close. You have no idea. When we get the threat of bankruptcy return, that opens up a universe of possibilities. But only when that happens. As long as bankruptcy remains gone, we're screwed. So go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and do our daily action. If you've never done it's worth. In fact, do a month's worth. It's easy. They're easy. They take like no time at all. You need a Twitter account. Get a Twitter account. If you've never done Twitter, get a Twitter account just for the purpose of doing these daily actions. That's how important it is, guys. We're the only group fighting for this. And I don't know why the other groups are just not. Well, I have an idea with at least one of them. There's some shady things going on behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just tell you. A lot of groups out there aren't what they appear to be. Like student debt crisis comes to mind. But guys, I don't speak for the other groups. Let them defend their own shitty strategy that's nonsensical. It starts with bankruptcy, guys. Always has, always will. The swamp, the bad guys, they would love to foist yet another fake loan cancellation gimmick on us. Did with IBR, just like they did and are doing, just like they did with public service loan forgiveness, just like they did with income contingent repayment, just like they did with pay as you earn, just like they did and are doing with revised pay as you earn. Guys, the success rate for all those programs, cumulatively, the success rate is well less than 1%. So the overwhelming, pretty much everybody is getting screwed out of those programs. And as long as bankruptcy remains gone, they can continue to screw us around like that. So you heard it here first. Maybe you only heard it here, but I don't care, guys. Forget about everything else. We've been doing this for 17 years. If I know anything, I know that. And anyone who's been on our group for any length of time knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, hey, I'm looking for your questions, comments right now. Tonight's topic I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. I should have done it a while ago, but tonight I want to talk about what the Democrats owe us and why. So first of all, let me say again, we are a fiercely non-partisan group. Whatever your political stripes are, you are very welcome. Both parties should be on our side. We can make a very strong conservative argument because this is a big government, college enriching, red state wrecking, veteran wrecking, senior wrecking monstrosity that needs to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. And there's no who can debate me. Every conservative out there who I've challenged has run away. People like Grover Norquist, he's the biggest hypocrite on earth. But there are some good conservatives out there, guys. There are. And they should all be on our side. But tonight, 10% of our time pushing Republicans. But tonight, I want to talk about the Democrats. The Democrats owe us big time. So here's the story as I understand it, as I saw, felt, and lived it, going back to 2000. So we first started making waves on this issue in 2005, 2006. I did a whole bunch of research, and we started studentloanjustice.org. We did some research and what we found was just absolutely stunning. We found just absolutely improper, inappropriate financial relationships between colleges and lenders. We found all sorts of lobbying activities, all sorts of familial benefits, members of Congress. We took all our research to 60 Minutes. Well, first Fortune magazine, but anyways, we wound up being featured top story on 60 Minutes. And this in turn spawned a Senate and New York Attorney General investigation, which culminated in the largest, most wicked scandal in the history of higher education. I kid you not. Financial aid administrators across the country were fired. Quite frankly, they probably should have been criminally charged. Anyways, it was a big deal. So then in 2006, end of 2006, the Democrats end of 2005, the Democrats won back their control of House and Senate. And then in 2008, they won the presidency. So the Democrats controlled both House and Senate for 2 years. And then, at least on paper, they had a supermajority, including the presidency, from 2008 to 2010. So one of the first things that the Democrats were supposed to do when they retook power was return bankruptcy protections, maybe not to all student loans, but certainly to private student loans. So lo and behold, an amendment to, I think it was an amendment to the Higher Education Act, amendments to the Higher Education Act. Anyways, an amendment to a bill came up, and behold, bankruptcy protections to private student loans. Well, at the very last minute, the Blue Dog Democrats decided to oppose the bill. And lo and behold, bankruptcy protections remain gone from private student loans. This was the biggest, taking bankruptcy away from private student loans was one of the very dirtiest tricks I've ever seen the Wall Street banks play on the American citizens. They promised, Congress, if you take bankruptcy away, and this happened in 2005, they go, hey, Congress, if you take bankruptcy away, we will, we'll lend to more needy students, and we'll just be such nicer lenders. We'll be nicer and this and that. But in point of fact, they said, we will lend to more needy students. So Congress did that. They took bankruptcy away. They made it on the same level as federal student loans. And instead of lending to more needy students, what the banks started doing was demanding creditworthy cosigners for over 90% of their new loans, their new private loans. So this put mom and dad and grandma and grandpa's real property on the chopping block. And with the absence of, with bankruptcy protections not there, they ruined families en masse. It was disgusting. It was obscene. It was the most horrific thing that I've seen. Among the most horrific things that I've seen in the student loan space. I've seen a lot of things, by the way. So the Democrats pretty much screwed us on that. So that was how many years ago? 2006, 2007 to 2010. That was like 12 to 16 years ago. Okay? 12 to 16 years ago. Now, here, the lending problem has gotten way worse. Back in the day when I was talking about, we owed somewhere like 400, 500, 600 billion dollars in student loans. Today, we're way over triple that. We're probably over $2 trillion if you count a lot of loans that aren't being counted and so forth. I think we're well over $2 trillion. That's more than the official figure I know, but that's probably where we're at. And so many people have been destroyed in the ensuing 12 to 16 years. The damage done to this country has been. So here we are again. Lo and behold, the Democrats control both the House and the Senate and the presidency. They've got the trifecta, just like when Obama was in office. So the Democrats screwed us when they had this very rare opportunity last time. And the only question now is, will they screw us again? Now, as I said, we've got a great bill to fight for. This time it returns bankruptcy to federal student loans, not private, by the way. There's another bill for that, HR 4907. I can talk about that a little later if you're interested. But S2598 is for federal student loans that are over 10 years old. So it returns limited bankruptcy rights. It also requires the colleges to reimburse the government, at least nominally. It's a pretty token amount. It's up to, another weasel words, up to half the amount that was originally borrowed, and it's based on a sliding scale based on repayment and default rate and so forth. So it probably won't amount to almost anything for most colleges. But it's a great bill. And the Democrats have held a supermajority since 2020, well, January 2021. So it's been a year and a half now that they have held the supermajority. They may very well only hold this supermajority for another few months. In other words, till the end of this year. And so the big question is, what do the Democrats owe us? And I will tell you what they owe us. Now we're fully in for cancellation. We are in that whole thing, and we should be very proud of that. But again, we're not going to see any kind of meaningful student loan cancellation until and unless we get the threat of bankruptcy returned. The Democrats screwed us big time in 2006, 2007, 8, 9, 10. The only question is, are they going to screw us? They owe us bankruptcy, ladies and gentlemen. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army in the U.S. Constitution. Whatever your situation may be for your own student loans, in fact, whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy, that's not important. What is important is that we get the leverage of bankruptcy returned. Now, the Democrats, they've got to know that this is a big thing. It's a big deal. Maybe they won't admit it publicly, but everybody behind the scenes knows that this whole thing really does come down to bankruptcy. And quite frankly, the Department of Education fights against it tooth and nail. At least they have up to this point. Now, they've made some very strong promises on bankruptcy. Joe Biden adopted Elizabeth Warren's bankruptcy plan before the presidential election, which was, but more than that, the Department of Education has said that they are going to revisit and they're going to change how they treat student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. Right now, they oppose them, and they have opposed them for decades. They have quashed all the people into the dust for the past 2-3 decades, longer even. They have said they will change that. And these are Joe Biden's men here: James Kval, Richard Cordray, Toby Merrill, Secretary Cardona. But and that's great. And they need to do that. Quite frankly, I think they need to stop opposing all student loan borrowers, regardless. All federal student loan borrowers, they need to stop opposing. But we also have this bill, which is way more important. It's, you got to codify this thing. It's the one thing that Congress can do, by the way. Congress can never and will never actually cancel loans. That's stupid. In order for Congress to cancel loans, they have to raise money to pay for student loans. It has to be budget neutral. It's never going to happen, and there's no good reason to do that. The federal government paid for these loans many years ago. They don't need to pay again. In fact, they don't need to pay far, far, far more than twice again to cancel these loans. The president could just cancel them. As I said, not one dime needed from the Treasury, not one penny added to the national debt. So Congress can't do anything on loan cancellation. What they can do is return bankruptcy rights to these loans for them, before they had the power to raise an army and declare war. And again, I actually am looking for your comments, guys. I'm sorry to be lagging. But the Democrats owe us. And by the way, this is the thing that nobody knows, and I don't say nearly enough. But the Democratic national committee, the DNC, they every 4 years they adopt a platform, and both in 2016 and more recently in 2020 they voted to include in the DNC platform the return elections to student loans. That's the DNC. That's not Lion Biden talking out of the side of his neck. Oh, I never said that. I didn't mean that. I might have said it, but I didn't mean it. No, that's not that. That is hardcore voted on, probably debated, but definitely voted on, resolved, and put pen to ink by the DNC twice in 2016, 2020. So the Democrats absolutely the return of bankruptcy protections. Quite frankly, they owe us the return for both federal and private student loans. So, but I just honestly, I don't see HR 4907 going anywhere, guys. I just don't see it. If you have private student loans, you need to be fighting your ass off for HR 4907. If we see people actually out there fighting, then we might jump into the fight. But, it's got to start with you guys. We can't do everything. We're a grassroots citizens group. It's got to come from the people. Everything we do has got to come from you, from the people. So that's kind of the skinny on that, guys. The Democrats owe us big time. And the year is getting late. We're almost in July, ladies and gentlemen. I'm worried. Quite frankly, I had thought this bill might pass by like March of this year, and we're already 3 months past that. More than 3 months, April, May, June. So I'm worried, guys. And the Boston Globe interviewed Elizabeth Warren a couple months ago, and point blank, they asked her, "What do you think about S 2598?" And she wouldn't. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to negotiate against myself." What the fuck does that mean? Pardon my French. What does that mean? Bankruptcy and loan cancellation are not opposing competing concepts. This is not a one or the other. No, that's nonsense. In fact, the two are simpatico. In fact, we will not see the one without the other. So I don't know what kind of nonsense Elizabeth Warren is talking, and I hate to say that because, as I said, we go back a long ways with Elizabeth Warren. I didn't say this, but that 60 Minutes thing I was telling you about way back in the day, that was then Professor Elizabeth Warren's first splash in the national limelight. And she was teaching bankruptcy law at Harvard at the time. I mean, if anybody should be our champion on bankruptcy, it should be Elizabeth Warren. Guys, I'm very worried. And the one thing that I know is that all the stuff that we're seeing right now does not happen in a vacuum. In fact, this group is pretty much the motivating force. And what this group, and when I say this group, I don't mean me. I mean, yeah, me a little bit, but what's far more important than me is what all the people in this group do to either fight for S2598 or not. Stuff does not happen in a vacuum, guys. And if you're not fighting this battle with us hard, as if your student loans depended on it, because they do, then you're losing this battle for us. And that's just a fact. And that's shameful. We've got a very historically rare window of opportunity right now. We need to be pushing both parties, Republicans and Democrats. I think we've done all the work that we need to do on the Republicans almost, although we're not quite there yet. But I'm starting to wonder about the Democrats, and I'm very sorry that I even have to say that, but I am. So whether you have Republican senators or Democratic senators, I strongly suggest, if you want this problem solved in your life, you get on the horn to both of your senators and you tell them as strongly as possible, get a meeting with them, by the way, demand a meeting with them, and I will happily come in on that phone call. We don't care. We'll talk to anybody, Democratic, Republican, whatever. Um, this is going to make or break this whole thing, guys. Whether we get actual um, an actual victory or whether we get screwed again depends on what you do between now and, quite frankly, I would say no, because if they're going to do anything, they're going to do it before the midterms, right? I mean, they're not going to be like, oh, we just got our asses handed to us in the midterms, but okay, now we'll go ahead and pass bankruptcy. That doesn't make any sense. If they're going to do stuff, they're going to do it before November. And in fact, I think they'll probably do it before, just before maybe early voting starts. So when does early voting start? November, I think, what, 8th is the election or something? First week in November? Second Tuesday in November? November something, single digits. So when does early voting start? I think it's like 3 weeks or a month before that, right? So we're talking about October 10th. So basically, folks, what I'm telling you is we have between now and the first week in October to make this bill happen. And that's only going to happen when you get off your ass and help us fight. And I'm not kidding you. You know, there's only so much that I can do. I don't live in your state. I'm not a constituent of your senator. So, you know, and more than that, shit, I'm only one person. You know, and I should say, we have, on any given day, we've got thousands of people doing some stuff, but that's not nearly enough, guys. That's like not even a tenth of a percent of the people on this group. You know, we've got over 1 million people on our petition, on our Facebook group. We've got something like 1.3 million people who have signed up for one of our platforms or another. And if 10% of those people were actually doing stuff every day, starting with our daily actions, we would overwhelm every Twitter account that we wanted to every day. We would blow up, we would shut down. I'm not going to say blow up. That's a bad word. Not literally, but we would overwhelm switchboard in every congressional office in Washington, D.C. If even 1 out of 10 of our members were doing stuff every day. That's 130 plus thousand people. So you need to ask yourself, how important is it for you to finally get these loans in the rear view mirror? How important is that to you? Well, as important as that is how hard you need to be busting your ass between now and the first week in October. Okay. Looking at your comments, guys. Oh, we got a bunch of people here tonight. Hey, Chris Renner's with us. I see Kelly Kessler, long time member Kelly. Van Jian Rue, Terry Dodd. So let's just get right into these questions, shall we? Theme tonight, Democrats owe us big time. So here at this shitty motel that I find myself in, I apologize. Hey, Lisa Longmire is with us from Seattle. Leslie Fishman's with us. Terry Dodd. Kelly Kessler says, yep, student debt crisis is so sketchy. Yeah, you know, I almost don't want to talk. I'll just say that we found some connections. This group came around 2010, and they fought in very sneaky, creepy ways against the return of bankruptcy protection to student loans. And some of our members did some digging into these guys, and they found some very close ties between the student debt crisis outfit, a lobbying firm in Washington, D.C. called the DCI Group. So one of their members, one of their admins or something like that, was creeping onto our group and saying, hey, let's not fight for bankruptcy. Let's fight for loan cancellation instead. And this chick had come from the war room of the DCI Group. The DCI Group is a infamous lobbying firm credited with torpedoing Senate legislation that would have prevented the subprime home mortgage crisis. The DCI Group is a dirty, quote unquote, AstroTurf campaign company. So they work for energy companies and tobacco companies, and they work for big, rich corporations. So the student debt crisis group is just ridiculous. And I don't even try not to pay them. And I can tell they're still using their group as hunting grounds. And if you go and try and talk about bankruptcy on their group, they'll either ignore you or block you, I am told. So whatever, guys, let them defend themselves. We got enough. We've got our own battles to fight here, and we don't. So you got me started, Kelly, but I'll shut up now. I think that's all you need to know. But Google the DCI group to see the kind of nonsense I'm talking about. Hey, Terry Dodd says, will we get any updates or a status on S2598? Because it got eerily quiet lately. Or are they planning another up to empty promise? Terry, I wish I could tell you. I can't, all I can really say is what I just said. The bill is in a perfect position right now. I'm getting nervous. I'm also seeing this sort of eerily quiet thing. Now, Dick Durbin, who I have every reason, he's kind of a quiet senator. He's chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He measures twice and cuts once, and he usually doesn't make a big deal about it. And he's always been a man of his word to me and to our group, and I am quietly confident. But at the same time, the clock is ticking, so I'm right there with you, Terry. And who knows what other kind of machinations are happening in the House as well. But I can tell you this, and if there's any DNC, you people are absolutely playing with fire. You are looking down the barrel of the worst landslide midterm election loss in U.S. history. And I mean that, like way worse than any midterm losses that we've ever seen in the past. Don't think that the abortion issue is going to save you. I don't think it will. We take obviously no stand on that issue one way or the other, but I don't think that's going to garner you anywhere near the numbers that you need, because there are 57 million student loan borrowers in the country, both public and private, both federal and private. 85% of those people are distressed on their loans. So they're either not paying or they were paying, but their loan balance was going up even before the pandemic. And so that's 45 million voters who vote, by the way, who are losing sleep over their student loans. You've really pissed us off. Joe Biden has really pissed us off, and you've done nothing. And some of us of a certain age, like me, we remember when you screwed us last time, back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 7, 8, 9, 10. We were there. We don't forget. We will not forget. We're a nonpartisan group. No connection between elephants and conservatives that need to be drawn there. We have memories like elephants, and we will not forget being screwed. And we do not forget the Democrats screwing us, the blue dog Democrats screwing us. So, this is all about the Democrats. What are they going to do? Are they going to fight for the people, or are they going to fight for the student loan swamp? Are they going to fight for the unelected bureaucrats? Are they going to fight for whatever moneyed entrants are yanking their change behind the scenes? And, but it looks like November could be some sort of an extinction level event for the Democrats. I've heard that bandied about, and who knows? But I can tell you this, the Democrats are not going to do shit without the 44 million distressed student loan borrowers, at least not pissed at them as we all are now. That trumps, we are the largest politically untethered voting bloc in U.S. history. 47 million or 45 million distressed people. That's nearly enough to elect a president outright. So think about that. So that's the update, Terry. I mean, the most important thing I'll say is what I already said. The stuff does not happen in a vacuum. We've got to push. We've got to push and push and push. And that means you, not you. And Terry, I know you've been pushing. In fact, everybody I see here on the groups tonight, Vanjie and Kelly and Doug and everybody else, I know they've been pushing. We are the pioneers. We are the tip of the spear. Who I'm talking about is everybody else out there who may be watching us, but has never done a damn thing. We're not here for your entertainment. These are your loans. This is your problem. We need you here with us fighting. This is not entertainment. You are not better than us. You are not. So don't forget that. So Vanji says, this bit of history makes me so angry. Well, I aim to please. The history is what the history is. The Democrats cannot run from it. We will not let them. Kelly Kessler says, thank you for all you do, Alan. I made daily actions part of my daily routine. There is no reason anyone with student debt should not be fighting hard right now. You're so right, Kelly. Kelly's been with our group since 2007, by the way, which is way longer than I even care to count at this point. Was that 14, 15, 16 years? The daily actions are easy to do, guys. All you need is like the internet, and yeah, you need a Twitter account. You can usually do a day's worth of our daily actions in probably 3 minutes. It's like retweet this, and this. That's usually the daily action. But from time to time, it's like call your senator, send an email to this guy, text. Do our resist bot. It's like we make it very simple for people. Very simple, very quick. We know people's time is limited. Think about the muscle that we actually have to flex, though, guys. If 130,000 people a day were doing our daily actions, like I said, I think the problem would be solved within a couple of months if that happened, because we would literally, they would. Every congressional office would be able to think of nothing else other than us if we were to do that. I kid you not. Hey, Chris Renner says, why are few loan servicers managing these loans? Fed loan will not renew contract. That's a great question. The student loan system is vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy, ladies and gentlemen. The student loan system is disintegrating in slow motion as we speak. Student loan system is catastrophically failed. It's finished. Over the past year, we've seen the 2 largest servicers pull out of the whole thing. Like Navient pulled out, Fed loan servicing pulled out. That's called rats abandoning a sinking ship. Ladies and gentlemen, even before this pandemic, 60% of all borrowers were not paying on their loans. Not paying. And even if you don't count the kids who are in college, it's over half. Even before the pandemic, over half of all eligible should be paying borrowers were not paying. Over half. Now, right now, today, as I'm talking to you, that's like almost nobody's paying. And whenever they try and muster the courage to turn this lending scam back on, almost nobody's going to pay. I would be stunned if even 20% of the people paid. The lending system is a dead man walking, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I like to talk about it in the past tense. But having said that, Chris, we could see a good, quick, clean death, which starts with the return of bankruptcy to the loans. And after that, probably, maybe before, not before. Because of that, we will only with the threat of bankruptcy back in place, will we see Joe Biden cancel a meaningful, cancel loans meaningfully broadly, not this up to $50,000 nonsense. This bad faith, weasel worded lawyer. Shame on Elizabeth Warren, by the way, for inserting those words into that whole thing. Things rarely happen for no reason in Washington, D.C. I think that up to language was very stealthily inserted into the whole thing. And shame on Elizabeth Warren for doing that. If you can't tell, we've got a love-hate relationship with Elizabeth Warren. She has disappointed us many times. She's said a lot of the right things as well. I mean, she should be our true champion. There should be not even a razor blade worth of distance between us and Elizabeth Warren. There should not be. But some tricky things. And like this most recent thing I said, where she's being coy about whether she supports S-2598. It's like, it's baffling. It's tricky. It's not trustworthy. And, it's kind of like maybe as Liz Warren goes, so go the Democrats. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, we're not counting on Elizabeth Warren. What I know is what I just said. We've got a great bill to fight for. We got a very good senator, 3 senators, including 2 Republicans, championing this bill. We've got common sense, which is like, okay, I can understand maybe why there's a strong political, why people who don't know are against loan cancellation. I mean, I kind of get that. It's stupid. The loans will be canceled. The loans will not be paid. The best thing to do is cancel these loans right now today. Get this lending system into the rearview mirror. Start over again, and begin, reinvent higher education financing from scratch. That is what needs to happen. But just the whole whatever people might say about that, just the whole cancellation debate makes the return of bankruptcy middle ground solution that it is. But it's also fundamental to everything. The federal government has got to play by the very same rules that every other lender for every other type of loan has to live by, including the federal government. The federal government, different kinds of loans and loan guarantees. Every single one of those loans and loans guarantees, even that the federal government makes, those have the same uniform bankruptcy laws. They've all got bankruptcy protections. They haven't been stripped the way they were stripped from student loans. So I think I'm going to cut it short there at that tonight, guys. But we need you helping. We need you doing the daily action. If there was another group that was fighting this fight and I thought I could kick back or maybe join that group, I would do that. But that group doesn't exist because that group is us. That group is you and Terry and Leslie and Vanjie and Lisa and, did I say, Kelly and Doug and Chris. All the people I just mentioned, they are doing their part. What are you doing? We have Martha in New Jersey. Martha, like my friend, as unfortunate coincidence, who I'm going to visit right now, Martha has ALS. ALS is a debilitating disease. You lose your muscles, lose the ability to function over time. Martha can't talk. Martha can't walk. Martha can type. And even Martha finds a way to do our daily actions. So you're not better than us, and you're not above us. We don't work for you. And what's your excuse for not doing our daily actions? Yeah, whatever excuse you could possibly type, it's not worth the electrons that you sent it over the wires on. This is your fight, and we need you. And guys, I'm just telling you like it is. We've been doing this for 17 years, guys. And when the people think that somebody else is going to do their shit for them, it never happens. And the people in Washington, D.C. keep doing what the people in Washington, D.C. have always done, which is nothing. So think to yourself, do you want to be sitting here 5 years from now saying, wow, I should have really gotten off my ass, like that woman with ALS in New Jersey did for 5 effing minutes a day 5 years ago? Maybe I wouldn't be so screwed today. You don't want to be that guy. So you've got no excuse. So help us. And if you're not going to help us, then get the fuck off of our group, please. Because we don't want the dead weight. We're not around and deliver the solution into your lap. This is not a wait, watch, and worry thing. This is a make it happen struggle, and you are in it, and you cannot unhear that. So okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. This coming week could be make or break for us. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I pretty much everything I know is pretty much what I've told you tonight about S2598. Stuff does not happen in a vacuum. Get both of your senators. Make it your mission to maybe even get both of your senators in a phone conference. I will very happily jump in on that conference, and I can talk that talk. We're really good at doing this. We've been sharpening this blade for many years now. We've been, as I said, we've been on all. We've done all the interviews with all the people on all the shows, and I can do all that stuff. I can do all the talking if I need to. Hopefully, I don't need to. But we are certainly here for you. We've got 50 state chapter groups who are here to support you and in your efforts going forward to get your senators not only to push S2598, but as loan cancellation rises and falls, loan cancellation also. So, all right, guys, I'm out. But remember what I said. And I think with that, I will just drop the mic and wish everybody a great week. God speed. God bless. Good luck. I will probably not be back tomorrow. Maybe Ed will fill in for me. We're not sure. But I definitely will be with you on Wednesday. And maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Might be another late live stream. All right, guys. Peace. Please donate if you can. Studentloanjustice.org/donate. Oh, sorry. I got to